So I'm Richard Komer, Komer, from the Institute for Justice, and I represent the petitioners, three moms from Kalispell, Montana.
So my question, Mr. Komer, is if you win, does that mean that once you start a program that benefits all private schools, you have to, including religious schools, you have to keep doing that, even if it's in violation of the state constitutional no-aid clause?
Well, first, these programs are scholarship programs. They aid families, they don't aid schools. They were prevented from getting and using the scholarships because of the schools they chose under the state's no-aid clause, or what we call the Blaine Amendment. But there's still plenty of legislative discretion for a state that has started a private school choice program to end a private school choice program. It just can't do it on the basis of religious discrimination.
Well, but if the state legislature were to say, okay, we lost in the Supreme Court, but we're not going to continue this law, would that be religious discrimination?
No. I mean, there's lots of reasons why state legislatures stop a program, and sometimes they stop it for perfectly non-religious, neutral reasons, like a budget crisis. But as the Supreme Court held during the desegregation era, a government body doesn't get to shut down a program to avoid including a protected class. In that era, the protected class that was being discriminated against was African Americans. Here, the class discriminated against are religious people, anyone who wants to send their kids to a religious school, whether for religious reasons or for non-religious reasons.
So the state high court ruling it's not a cure-all, that nobody gets the money,
That's not the cure-all, because it is right now, perfectly legal in Montana to create a private school choice program, except you have to limit it to secular schools. Going forward, they could do that, and there are other places that have done that. And that legal issue is going to continue, and if they do not strike down, reverse the decision of the Montana Supreme Court. Well,
Kendra. And Kendra, why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Kendra Espinoza, and I'm the lead plaintiff in this case.
So why do you send your children to a private religious school?
I don't necessarily like what the public schools teach, and I don't feel that there's enough teaching at the public school to teach my children how to develop character, and I wanted more for my children. I wanted them to be challenged more academically rather than just coast through and graduate.
When you and I spoke earlier, why don't you move up a little bit so the microphones get you? Mm-hmm. You talked very specifically, though, about wanting your children to have certain religious and ethical and moral views taught to them as part of their education.
That is correct. At home, we're a Christian family, and I want those values taught at school. I think that our morals as a society come from the Bible, and I want that to be mirrored in what my children are learning at school, so that their foundation as a young adult and learning how to develop character comes from the same principles that we're learning at home.
Talk a little bit about the discrimination. What kind of discrimination do you think that you're being subjected to?
I feel that we're being excluded simply because we are people of religious background, or because our children want to go to a religious school. If this program were to continue when we were to be excluded because we are going to a religious school, that would definitely be discrimination. And I just feel that it's blatant discrimination, the way that they handled this case in the first place.
And what would you say to a taxpayer who says, it's fine for anybody to send their child to a private school of their choice, but I don't want to subsidize religious views that I don't agree with?
So a taxpayer has a choice to donate or contribute to these scholarship funds or not. they do not have to contribute to these funds. There's nothing that says that they need to. But for someone who does contribute to these organizations, it is usually and typically because they know that these funds are going to children of private schools, and 90% of the schools in Montana are religious schools.
But a tax credit is a subsidy by its nature.
That would maybe be more of a question to the attorneys.
I agree. I'll defer to the attorneys
Okay.
on that one. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you talk about who's here with you today?
Say that again.
Talk about who's here with you today.
My girls are with me. Naomi is here and Sarah is here.
What do you tell them? What do you tell them about why this fight is so important to you?
We have talked about why we're here and how momentous this case is, because this gives us the right to continue to choose where we want to go to school, not just for our family, but for so many other families across the U.S. We're here to stand up for our rights as people of faith to have the same opportunities that people, a secular school child would have.
Great. Eric, I want to hear from Erica Smith now.
Sure. And I'm happy to answer that question, Nina.
Why don't you step forward and
Sure.
don't look
my
at
name
me.
my name is Erica Smith. I'm a senior attorney at the Institute for Justice, and Erica is spelt with a C. You want to ask?
My question, yeah.
Sure. So, as a society, we recognize that there are many programs out there that aid individuals, not institutions, like GI Bill, Pell Grant, Medicaid, Medicare. Those programs all have religious options in them, and we're okay with that because we understand they aid individuals and not the institutions. Nobody is going to begrudge a soldier going to Notre Dame on a scholarship just because Notre Dame is a religious school, and that is perfectly okay, and this program is no different. At the end, this case has a lot to do with religious freedom, but more importantly, it is about every family's right to get a good education for their children, an education that best meets that child's individual needs. That's what was happening in Montana until the Supreme Court struck the program down. So we're very optimistic that we'll get a reversal.
Anybody else?